Welcome back. When the College Football Playoff Committee released their weekly rankings, it felt like Coug Nation took a second gut punch after their loss to Washington on Friday. It all had to do with the number 13. That's where the Cougs were ranked, and that is a big deal because in order to play in a New Year's Six Bowl, you have to be ranked within the top 12. That's something too important to remember throughout this entire segment. Let's start at the beginning. Why did the Cougs drop from 8 to 13 after their loss to a Washington team that is obviously a good team in their own right? It all boils down to this: strength of schedule. It is one of the College Football Playoff Committee's major factors when it comes to rankings. What's ironic, the CFP committee doesn't have any sort of standardized strength of schedule metric, so we will use ESPN's Football Power Index, which is their version of strength of schedule rankings. WSU schedule comes in number 17 in the country. In the CFP rankings yesterday, Florida was ranked number 9, their SOS ranking number 13. Behind the Gators at number 10 was LSU, their SOS ranking is 16. And the number 12 ranked team was Penn State, their SOS was ranked 8th. So your next question is, why is Washington State's strength of schedule lower? There are two reasons. One, in general, the Pac-12 is down this year and a lot of teams have beat up on each other. Two, let's be frank, the Cougs non-conference schedule was not exactly challenging. They won at Wyoming, a team that needed a 4-game win streak at the end of the season to finish 6-6 and thus become bowl eligible. They defeated a San Jose State team at Martin that finished the year with 1 win, and one of their 11 losses was to FCS team UC Davis. And however fantastic of a season Eastern Washington has had, a win at home for the Cougs against an FCS school doesn't exactly make your strength of schedule skyrocket. So that's how the Cougs at 2 losses fell behind Penn State, Florida, LSU, and Washington, who all have 3 losses. Here's the next logical thought process. Well, some of those teams play this weekend, so maybe with a loss from one of them, the Cougs will move up. Hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but Florida, LSU, and Penn State did not win enough conference games for them to make their respective conference championship games. The number 8 team, UCF, is playing in the American Athletic Conference Championship game this weekend and did lose their starting quarterback last weekend, but the results of that game literally won't impact this Cougs. And you're like, well, that makes no sense. Well, it's a requirement that one of the New Year's Six Bowls gives out a bid to a non-Power 5 conference team. So either UCF, Boise State, or Fresno State is headed to one of those bowls. After that, there is no way a team in the top 7 loses to WSU or loses and WSU leapfrogs them. So that's just not going to happen. With Florida, LSU, and Penn State all not playing this week and the UCF game not impacting the Cougs, who does that leave left? Yeah, it's Wazoo's favorite team, the Huskies. Utah needs to come out and stomp the Huskies. Not just like a 3-point win, it's got to be like 14 to 21 points for Washington State to overtake the Huskies in the rankings and thus get back into the top 12. If Utah wins and the Cougs overtake the Huskies in the rankings, that would mean that the Utes go to the Rose Bowl, and WSU could, and could is the operating word in this sentence, get a bid to the Fiesta Bowl. It's an extremely unlikely scenario that the Cougs jump the Huskies because Washington State just lost to Washington. The committee's not going to forget that. And the idea that Utah could come out and rout Washington is also unlikely because the Utes are playing with their backup quarterback. He's gone 3-0 since he took the helm, but he has not seen a defense remotely as good as the Huskies. So because the deck is already stacked against the Cougs, and the fact that in order to reverse that situation, they are relying on a scenario that seems far-fetched, I'd put my money on the Cougs going to the Alamo Bowl right now. It's the Pac-12's number 2 bowl game behind the Rose Bowl. At the beginning of the season, I think any Coug fan would have been overjoyed at that, but now it kind of feels like a consolation prize. Back to you guys.